Hello everybody, I'm Ard, and welcome to another episode of Minecraft Enigmatica 2 Expert. This week, we need to clean up our base. Specifically, all of the stuff that's outside it, like back here, all of the animal related stuff, and I've got to move all of the magic stuff because I want to build right here. Probably not today, but in the very, very near future, and this stuff is all in the way. So, one of the main goals for today is going to be to set up a proper animal farm. And you know, I was originally going to do it right. I was going to do it the normal way. I was going to use Industrial Foregoing, which includes things like the Animal Rancher, which lets you milk your cows and shear your sheep just automatically, and the Animal Baby Separator to remove out the young ones, which is more important for Animania than it is for here, because normally you'd be auto-breeding them and tossing them into a slaughter factory, which it will do anyways, but it's for like the Animania stuff, which automatically breeds on its own. And we want to set up a cheese factory using the milk cows from that set because, it's something to do. It's also good food. It's all good fun, and we need to move our chickens too and whatnot. But then I had a thought, and that thought was, I remembered I had the spawner changer, and you know what? That takes a lot of work out of this other than actually needing to find spawners to make new spawners out of. But you know what? We already have a mob farm. I can just throw this into the mob farm. Now, that said, I'm not 100% certain this is going to work, so let's test this out real fast, eh? To start with, I'm going to put out this Highlands Bull, which is one of the new cow types from Animania. This is a type of cow that is specifically for getting beef from, specifically prime beef, as opposed to the milk cows, which you are the ones you make cheese out of. So I guess let's see if we can even use the spawner changer on this guy. Oh, and it looks like we can. So let's pop out a spawner. Pop that off of it and use that. And now we have a Highlands Bull spawner. Let's pop a drop of evil on it and pick it up, and let's go see inside and see if this works. Alright, so let's just slap this down with our other resturb spawners and let's see if we get a cow out of this. Alright, bad news time. So, I never got them to spawn inside the mob farm, and I figured out why. It does work. These are spawning the bulls, obviously, because this is where they came from. You can see that they have the aura from the resturb spawner, but it requires following the same spawn rules as the normal mob. I can try to turn a normal spawner in it, and we'll see if that works too, but for now, I'm going to grab these, and we might have to set up a normal farm. Oh well. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, now we have a normal spawner. Let's go put this in the farm. Well, the bad news is that didn't work either, and even if it did, unless the cursor somehow affected it, it would need to be babysat anyways, since the only spawn if a player's in proximity with a normal spawner. So, this is what I get for trying to be sneaky. I get a whole load of failure. So I guess we're going to go do this the normal way, and we're going to go do it with Industrial Foregoing Rancher and other farm tools. So, yeah, I guess it's time to go get started on that, huh? Okay, so, Industrial Foregoing, Animal Farm, just like we had originally planned, right? This was the whole plan for the episode. This is where we were going to start. There was no other plan. No. So, the things we need to do to get started on this. Well, we need a couple basic Industrial Foregoing machines. One, we need an Animal Baby Separators, because Animania mobs breed on their own, which means you can very quickly get overrun by baby cattle. So we want to pull these out into a separate pen and, dispose of them. The other thing we need is an Animal Rancher, because the first thing I'm going to test with are the milk cows to try to make some cheese, just because that's the process I was actually interested in anyways. These two are pretty simple to make. They're basically just all stuff we've made before. The hardest part in here is the machine casing, just because it requires an advanced machine casing from Industrial Craft, but this is all stuff we've got. So I made that. Animal Rancher, same thing, made that as well. I also made a mob slaughter factory because that's how we're going to get rid of the babies. After we've let them live a full life up to adulthood, mind you, we are somewhat humane around here before tossing them into the wood chipper. This is a little bit more complicated, but still basically the same thing. The last thing that we absolutely need are troughs from Animania. These let you feed your cattle or give them water. You remember how way back in one of my first episodes I showed you that my hamsters were starving and thirsty? Well, this is why. They don't have any means to feed themselves. This will let my cows feed themselves, which will also make them happy, which will make them breed. So, which is how you also get milk. You can't just use a bucket on them normally, like normal cows do. It's a little bit more realistic. Thankfully, the troughs can be fed in with pipes in this pack. They can't always. It's something that can be disabled in Animania, but I mean, this whole pack is about automation, so why would they turn that off? Let me go make a starting platform, and let me see if I can get this at least set up. Well, I certainly don't want to discuss how many hours this took me to set up. I ran into a whole bunch of issues. Turns out there's an astounding, just absolutely astounding amount of misinformation about Animania out there and about the issues with it, especially with the version that's in Enigmatica. So, let's go talk about a couple of the problems. So, you see how I have these troughs in here in the corner back here connected to my Xnet cables? Well, I think this is one of the biggest issues involved with the whole mess, and is where a lot of the misinformation comes from. Cows and other animals almost certainly will not eat from this setup. Turns out if the troughs are not accessible from literally all four sides, they will not eat or drink from them. They might appear to do it a couple times, but if they get blocked on the side they're trying to go to, does not work. So you may have trouble seeing them under the pile of sleeping cows here, but the troughs are now separated. There's no cable between them. The cables are actually under them now. So that solves that problem. Also, I don't have the mob slaughter factory wired up yet for this. I do have the baby separator. I just have it turned off. So let's take a look how that works real fast. So we right click into it and we just turn it on, and they get pulled straight through the wall and then stuck into it. Oh, I probably need to fix that. Oh no. Well, that was an unfortunate lesson. Let me go clear that top block. Alright, I put a fence in there instead. Hopefully the next one that comes through doesn't get stuck. The reason I have blocks here and not fences is because I do not want there to be any chance that the range on the mob slaughter factory there bleeds into the other fence and kills off the parents, because that would be unfortunate. Another part of this setup is in the mob slaughter factory itself. In here I have an adult filter, and this stops it from killing the babies because I want the babies to grow up so I can get the delicious prime beef out of them. So I've got to feed them and water them. That's currently not set up properly in this cage because I don't have this pen set up yet, nor do I have the bulk of this farm even set up. This is just my test platform. So once I get this straightened out, I'll get the whole thing turned on and we'll start piping stuff out. What I do, however, have set up are the cheese molds. So as you can see, we've got milk processing into cheese right now. This is the delicious Frisian milk cheese. It does instant health heals when you eat it. It's actually pretty good food in the scheme of things. As you can see, it just slowly ticks up over time and finishes. And this gets piped back out into my storage network. The other big issue I ran into with this is an issue with the compact machines that I wasn't aware of previously. You see how I have a chest right here? Well, inside this chest is a ton of wheat. And it's a ton of wheat because it's connected right into the input tunnel. When I had this connected directly to my Xnet network, like I do for the outgoing pipes and for the power pipe, it didn't work. I wasn't able to pull the wheat in. As soon as I put a buffer chest right next to the input, all of a sudden it pulled everything in. So everything else here works the same as every other network I've done. So I guess the next step is, let me build this out a bit bigger. Let me build at least 2 more layers on it for another set of cows and a set of pigs. Hopefully my cows will not interbreed because that would be awkward since one of them is for meat and the other is for milk. And if I get the wrong milk in here, well, we don't get the right cheese. I don't even know if it can be put in here to get any cheese out of it, actually. I think this only works with the actual milk cow ones, so that would be unfortunate. Also, oh man, I think I might be getting more milk than I can process now. I might have to check how full my network is. I might actually need to put a drum on this. But that's a problem for another day, Ard. Yeah, today's Ard doesn't want to worry about that. Today's Ard has had more than enough problems, okay? So I didn't actually get more built yet. I had to go debug a few things. For starters, I had to move the troughs around a little bit. The cows weren't eating as well as they should have been. In some cases, they weren't. They were just staying hungry and thirsty. I don't know if it's because they saw the troughs in the other pen when I took the fence down briefly. I don't know. Resetting things seemed to fix it, so I'm not messing with that further. The other thing I did was I wired up an RF Tools timer to the rancher and to the mob crusher to slow them both down. The rancher I slowed down to, it's still going fairly fast. You can see it's about like once a second, but it's significantly slower than it was because it was just exhausting the cows. It was causing them to constantly be thirsty. This seems to make it a little less bad. It seems like every time they ticked, it would make a cow thirsty again. So this solved that problem. The mob crusher is set to once every 30 seconds right now for testing. I'm going to bump it up to even slower than that because it doesn't need to go very fast. There's an alternate way of doing this exact same thing with Xnet. You can literally just throttle the power going into the machine, but I don't like having to figure out the numbers for that because that's more confusing than just setting a red tone timer for me, which has the math literally in here. When you mouse over, it's 26 ticks a second. So it's pretty easy to figure out. So I just went with this for now. So for real now, I think I can build this out bigger. We will see though. I'm gonna have to rearrange some things probably because I want to put a different type of cow in here. Hopefully they won't interbreed. Won't know till we try though. But hopefully we can finally get moving forward on this. This has been a non-stop slog of debugging why the cows aren't working right. Well, I've got this working at least at a basic level with both my cow types. I had to cut the herds down to 2 cows and 2 bulls of each because I think I was having an overcrowding issue with the troughs. As much as it pains me to say it, I think I need to move this outside. But I'm going to leave it as is for now. This is working for milk and prime beef, so I'm getting my cheese and my beef, which I don't really need in large amounts, so I'm just going to leave this alone for now. I was originally going to build it up and add the pigs to it that I have inside my base on another layer on top of this, but I mean, guys, I don't even know how much time I've sunk into this now other than way too much. And I've just lost the will to live on this right now. So I think it's time to move on to at least another topic for at least a little bit. Okay, so one of the things I had wanted to do, and one of the reasons I was doing, the cows in general, was I wanted to get my kitchen set up a little bit better. And one of the things I needed to do was pipe food directly into the refrigerator. I might actually need to put a second refrigerator in here, and I probably actually should do that before I get started on this. But I want to slave it to the drawers downstairs. And one of the key parts is you can see that I put a preservation chamber in this refrigerator. And what the preservation chamber does is it stops it from using everything in the refrigerator. So if you have all of the slots filled, well, it won't fill up with random junk. It will just keep what's supposed to be in there. So I don't have to do any fancy filtering or sorting to keep the right stuff that's already in the refrigerator. It's already set up to do that. So let's go set that up with some ductwork, eh? Be right back after I clean out my refrigerator and maybe do the dishes. So I did end up adding a second refrigerator because I have too much stuff in the basement and I still have more stuff I can easily add to the network. While looking up an issue I had with this, turns out I just didn't have my slave connected to the network at all. It was one block above the drawers, so I had to add some trim. But while trying to figure that out, I found out you can apparently connect a storage drawer network directly to a Cooking with Blockheads setup if you just connect a line of drawers straight up next to your refrigerator or your counters or whatever and connect it to it. I didn't know that. My kitchen's too far away from the drawer controller. It has to be within a 12-block radius, but something new that I didn't actually know about. If you look in here, you can see that it's slowly filling up all of the stacks, so I should have a full stack of everything I've got in my network downstairs. And in the other refrigerator, I have spaces blocked by Elder Prismarine because this is something that will never be in my drawer network. I dug this out when I went and found the end portal, and I just got it just in case I want it for decoration purposes, but this is something that would never be there. So it's blocking the slots so they can't be filled up by something else for now, until I have more stuff to add to it. The refrigerators aren't very organized, but it gives me access to everything that I have. Long term, this is the sort of thing you really want to set up with an ME system to auto craft it if you really want just giant stacks of food or whatnot, or you don't want to deal with it. But I'm still working on uniqueness, so I'm still cooking out of the cooking table over here for the most part, just to get the things that I haven't had. So yeah, so progress at least. In the interest of cleaning up my base and, you know, automating more of the food, I moved my Pam's Harvestcraft bees inside and just added it onto the existing Xnet system and piggybacked on some of the existing channels. So if you look in the controller here, we scroll down, you can see the apiary here. I'm just piggybacking on the first channel here with filters in place to put things where they're supposed to be. So that it's still doing the wheat to the troughs and whatnot, and then the extract channels are the same way. So it's just the same sort of stuff. I did learn one thing that actually surprised me and would have been amazing in the early game had I realized it sooner. Turns out if you take the honey that comes out of Pam's Harvestcraft stuff and put it back through the press, it makes slime balls. I don't know how I forgot or just never saw this. It made me feel really, really not smart. I did it by passing a honey drop accidentally back into the press while I was testing this. Didn't know this was even a thing. My slime problems are pretty much solved ever since I got into Nether, but you know, wasn't smart. I could have had this on day one. One more thing that the press can do that is probably worth noting is that you can make juice from it the same way as you can make with a juicer, except as a byproduct it creates bait for using in the animal traps, which are also a really good source of like leather and meat, although they are a giant pain to automate if memory serves. Also cooking oil, as well as the bait if you're doing seeds, and an early source of paper if you don't have sugarcane. All in all, I just felt kind of foolish when I realized that though. So make sure you look at the recipes of the machines you make, folks. So while we're on the topic of food, I forgot I did something in between episodes to show you guys, and that's that I fixed my culinary generator set up inside my crop farm. And I wired it all up properly with Xnet instead. As you can see, not all the furnaces are turned on. Well, it's because I made some changes. For one, I put in speed upgrades on them, which turns out might be too much, because 4 of these are wired up to do seed soup, and apparently I have exhausted my supply of beetroot seeds entirely, so that's a problem. So as you can see, I'm running out of some of the soups that I was using, which isn't great, but that's a supply issue on the materials, and I really would just need to change my farm to add more of the ones that I'm missing to fix that. But since I don't really rely on these for power, it's not that big a deal. One of the other changes I made was to the crafter. So something I'd forgotten about is if you hit this R button here to remember the current layout, the current items, the internal and external buffers, you can lock the slots so only those items can appear. The big reason is because the stock right here now only fills up the internal buffer. It now cannot fill up any of these slots. They don't get exported out. They just stay here, and it always has its own slot right there that it can monopolize. And as you notice, when I took that out, it dumped some more stock in because I do have it exporting out here. I had some spare ones there originally that I didn't need, that I was just storing there, but it will fill up this slot first and then any open inventory afterwards, and it will only use up what we have. But as you can see, it's locked this for tomatoes, so you can only put tomatoes there, peas here, etc., and it can only lock these slots, so these can't get jammed up if something does back up like a ton of seed soup like it used to. So that more or less fixed this setup, other than making sure I get more materials coming in. But like I said, I'm not really leaning on this for power as it is anyways. Well, between this episode and the last couple, we have quite a few quests to cash in on, so let's go through the book, get all the loot chests out of it, and let's start opening them. Okay, looks like it's 12 chests. Let's get started. Bookshelves. Another solar generator, can't complain too much. Expander. That's an upgrade that causes you to mine more spaces vertically, so multiple blocks at a time. Not really that useful with the vein miner. For the ender chest. Grass. Poutine, which we haven't eaten, so that's fine. Brewing stand, which aren't hard to make. Redstone. TNT. Pulled pork. TNT. And lava stone. So another relatively boring set of loot chests, other than more free power in the form of the solar panel. So I'm not going to complain about that, but the rest of it's just kind of Well, I'm not going to lie. This has been a frustrating episode to film. just due to all of the issues with Animania and all of the massive amount of misinformation that's available about it on the web. The only thing I can say, and my biggest lesson learned, is to be careful what you read if you go in and start to do Animania in this pack. If you start doing it, you are off the edge of the map into there are dragons here territory. As long as you're not trying to do too much, you'll probably be okay. Anyways, as always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.